better
I just have to go now. I just want to say bye.
It's easy to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming. It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can't fit throw it in the house.
Unless we do a meetup, maybe the meetup. Yeah. I didn't, I'll just let us know now.
Okay. All right, so osteoarthritis. Okay, so we always show up with the client. Everyone always says, "Oh, I have arthritis, I have arthritis," but you don't want to break it down. Arthritis is just more about it says a blanket term. It's just general. There's many types of arthritis. So you got the rheumatoid, psoriatic arthritis, and gout, but the one we're going to focus on is osteoarthritis because that has to do with the wear and tear on the joints. That is usually what we come into contact with the clients we have.
You can see it on the machine. Right?
Yes.
So you don't have to place back.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
You'd like to do it.
all right, no, this works. I can leave. Okay, so what is osteoarthritis? So it's the natural wear and tear of the joints, degradation of the cartilage and the subchondral bone, which is the bone, just here's the cartilage, here's the bone. That subchondral bone is that bone just connecting to that cartilage. So all that starts to degrade over time through wear and tear from as it says there, it acts as a cushion for the joints as a shock absorber, so we don't feel any discomfort or pain when we're moving and our joints move freely and smoothly. But once we get into the degradation and the beginning stages of osteoarthritis, that cushion begins to degrade and break down, and then there's no more support for that subchondral bone below, and you start getting the pain, discomfort upon weight bearing and movement and so on. And like the image shows, you can see the deterioration in that joint, in the hip joint there, the cartilage starting to thin out, and then the bone spurs starting to build up around there, causing the restricted movement and pain. So the risk factors, on average, it's advanced age. As we get older, this tends to be part of the aging process, but studies have shown that it's not just an old person's disease. Nearly 1/3 of patients who report osteoarthritis are diagnosed before the age of 45. So it does tend to start midway through our lives at this point in time, and the average lifespan. And then other risk factors, family history of joint disease is usually more of a genetic issue if it's common in the family history. Obesity, increased weight on the joints is then going to cause more strain on the joints and excessive wear over time. Then jobs involve repeated movement, heavy physical work, construction industry, labor-intensive industries, things like that. Once again, are going to put more wear and tear on the joints and more pressure for the joint to handle, causing that degradation. High intensity, high impact sports, which you see is common with athletes. Once they get into their older years, they'll tend to have these kind of issues. And then rheumatoid arthritis and gout and diabetes and high blood pressure have been found to be risk factors as well. Not really known why, still under research. The incidences, so in Canada, it's about 3.9 million Canadians aged 20 years and older suffer from osteoarthritis, and the risk of developing it increases with age. So for women, 46.6%, and men, 34.4% from 75 and older. And then usually women have a greater prevalence and severity of the osteoarthritis, and usually in the hands, knees, ankles, and feet, and men in the hips, wrist, and spine. It's one of those things where, it's not really exactly known why, still under research to figure out.
Women have it more than
Yeah,
men.
and usually in those areas, but most likely probably looking back at the past, the type of jobs they did and physical activities they did, the women probably did more things with their hands and knees, and affecting more of the ankles and the feet, whereas the men did more heavy lifting stuff. So come into contact with the hips and the spine more and the wrists. So you can kind of make that kind of connection. Heavy lifting for men, more women, more movement oriented activities through life. Okay, so the reason for this, the pathogenesis. So as it shows in the image there, you can see up close what's going on. The cartilage starts to break down, you start to get that bone poking through, and then from that natural wear and tear over time, it degrades, it thins, and then you start getting the bone-on-bone contact, causing that pain and discomfort. Bone spurs start to develop around the joint, causing that restricted movement and increased pain and decreased movement. I'm kind of going quickly here because I got quite a bit of slides on here. So I kind of created this more so that, you could look back to it as a resource, and then certain aspects of it, and then see what you're looking up, and then, just look it up online to get further information on it. But here's just a general tool to have like all that information all there. So I think I got about maybe close to 20 slides. So the symptoms: joint pain, tenderness in the joints, stiffness, so lack of a movement, inflammation, which causes the pain. A lot of times I'll tend to hear clients who say, "Oh, my knee's cracking. You hear that? Oh, you used to have them do a move. No, you hear that? You hear that clicking in there?" So you get those creaking and clicking movements associated with that, locking of the joints, so they kind of get stuck in a position for a split second. And then obviously the pain from trying to weight bear, standing, walking, or lifting objects. And the common sites. So once again, the weight bearing joints is usually where it happens. So you got the hips, the knees, the feet, the spine, and then in the hands and the non-weight bearing areas from repetitive stress movements over time. The treatment. So usually a lot of people tend to go to physiotherapy and rehabilitation to help with osteoarthritis, to reduce the pain through the movement exercise the physiotherapist will put them through, and using the different tools like the laser treatment and heat and so on. And then you got the drugs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs to reduce that inflammation in the joint, to help reduce the pain. And then there's tools like the braces to offload the joint and create a situation where the joint can kind of be helped by separating it and reducing the load on the joint by wearing something like a brace. And then the shock wave and laser therapies, which is to help reduce the inflammation and increase healing by sending blood to the area through shock wave therapy or the red light laser therapy. And then orthotics, once again, to help put the body back into proper posture and correct any abnormalities in the gait and motion of the foot. And then there's the joint injections, like I think Synvisc is one of them, where they artificially inject the joint with an artificial fluid to artificially lubricate the joint so that it can get back some relief in the movement and bring back some of that lubrication that has disappeared through the onset of the disease. And then modification to diet and supplements, which we'll get to shortly.
So if my family doctor says I have osteoarthritis, I'm not sure, do I go to a physiotherapist, do I follow the fitness? What do I do? What should I do after we do a consultation with them? We still don't know what to do. What would you recommend?
Yeah, so typically after the doctor, it'd be good to go see a physiotherapist just to get a better idea of what they're dealing with. Because then they could do a detailed assessment and find out where sort of pinpoint their pain and what they're able to do and capable of doing movements, what they should avoid. And then from there, they can move on to exercise once they get cleared. Usually, with all our patients, they should go to the doctor and get cleared for exercise. Once they get cleared for exercise, then we know that we can work with them safely and then take it from there. But first, I would always say go to a physiotherapist to get a full assessment to see what you're dealing with in the affected area, so we can better plan of attack in the exercise.
If the patient doing osteoarthritis regarding 4 to 5 years, and personal trainer can easily tackle that. At that time, no need to go for physio.
Yeah, it's always best because you get a more detailed assessment from the physiotherapist that you don't normally, a doctor wouldn't do, and as trainers we don't have that training to do that.
Yeah, I usually ask the client if I can either contact the physiotherapist or the physiotherapist to write a list of things that are contraindicated, because you don't want to be giving them an exercise that is going to make the problem worse. And if you see the exercises, to do them in front of you, so you're doing them correctly. So I think this is part of the future of personal training. Is working with our own little network.
No, it's true. You can't go in blind. You need the information.
Yeah.
You got to get the information from doctors, therapy, and all that stuff to be able to get that right plan of attack. And then, so once the damage is too great, surgery, as we have nowadays, hip replacements, knee replacements, break down the joint, and rebuild the joint with the artificial components. So then to relieve that pain, bring back the movement, so they can get back to hopefully a normal lifestyle. Okay, supplements. So I have two supplements here, ones that are more followed by science and have had scientific investigation, because there's tons of supplements out there nowadays, but who knows if it's good or not. But these are ones that have been studied by science, and still further research is needed. So this one here, Chondroitin Sulfate, it increases glycosaminoglycans, which is found in natural cartilage. So it helps build that up and help to build back the cartilage. It reduces painful symptoms of hip and knee osteoarthritis. It's been shown to slow the progression down of the osteoarthritis. It can produce hyaluronic acid, which is actually beneficial. That's part of the joint component. It's part of the lubrication of the joint, so it helps create that acid. And the recommended dosage there, 400 milligrams 3 times a day, acts as an anti-inflammatory. And once again, further research needed to find out its exact role. And then this one here, glycosamine sulfate. You probably heard of glycosamine a lot on commercials. So it's used to produce mucopolysaccharides, another component that's made up of the cartilage to help build up the cartilage, part of the normal cartilage. It's been shown to significantly improve pain and mobility in people with osteoarthritis, specifically in the knee. And the research suggests that the glyco supplement may stop and possibly even reverse degenerative joint diseases. Dosage 500 milligrams 3 times a day, and then there's some side effects there. And then once again, further research to learn more about it and figure out what its future role can be.
Collagen.
Yeah, that's one I didn't really find too much on. It was more those two were the really big ones.
Interesting.
Yeah. So a summary of what we just went through. Osteoarthritis affects millions of Canadians each year. These conditions affect multiple bones and joints, limits mobility and activity. Population is aging, so further need for this awareness and available treatment options for these people. And then once again, adequate diet and appropriate exercise are essential in the prevention and treatment of this type of condition. Okay, nutrition. So diet and osteoarthritis. So several foods have been shown to be very good at minimizing the symptoms. Lots of water, vitamin C, vitamin D, avocado and soybeans, ginger, fish oils, leafy green vegetables, green and herbal tea. Once again, I listed all this here, but to get into detail, you can always look it up why, all these certain ones, because there's a lot. But here we have the base to start at. These are the ones that have been shown to help with osteoarthritis. And then lots of water. So joints are stiff in the morning usually. And so after sleeping, you always want to hydrate in the morning, lots of water, not just for the joints, but for your muscle tissue as well. And especially after an activity. So lubrication of the joint depends on the movement and the hydration. So drink plenty of water, like they would say, 6 to 8 glasses a day, and avoid the diuretics, which is coffee, black tea, alcohol, which dehydrates us. You always want to dehydrate, lots of hydration.
Put everything in balance.
Yeah, exactly. We can't get rid of our own necessities and what gives us joy in life. We still got to have some things every once in a while to enjoy.
That's right.
Okay. So that's very common issue with our clients that we work with. They don't drink water. Like some of them it's like taking like maybe 2 glass, maybe a day. That's just like, so, I don't know, sometimes I have difficulty like forcing them to drink water, but like they can only do so much. That because of lack of water, there's like lack of energy, everything just goes down.
And sure, we're only with them for an hour. So what are they doing those other 23 hours of the day, right? At night.
Yeah.
You always gotta tell them, make sure you're drinking, but who knows what they're doing, right? It's tough.
Some of my clients, when I work with them, I make sure they drink. A couple of them, they drink 2 bottles. When I do that. The other one, drink 1.5 glass. It's better than 0 water.
Wow.
And it's tougher as we age. I mean, you see it with, I'm sure you experience with your own family members, grandparents, and so on, and just in general. As we get older and elderly people, seniors, they drink less. They tend to drink less,
They
right?
don't want to spend the day in the bathroom.
Yeah, but it's also because you're not that active, right? You're sitting indoors in
Yeah.
front of the TV, let's say, air conditioned. You're not really getting thirsty, so you don't think of drinking, right? But when we're younger, we're active, we're running
Yeah.
around. Oh, I'm thirsty, I got to drink. I got to drink. We're exercising, but it gets so much harder for them because they're not doing much. So they don't get thirsty. So it's hard to kind of ingrain that in them. Hey, you got to drink. Okay.
It's kind of interesting though, because I never really thought about water that way. I always thought water for digestion and dehydration, but I didn't really think about how it's moisturizing, like all my joints and my muscles.
Skin, muscle, everything.
Yeah.
Will dry out, right? Turn into a raisin.
After every single set, I just tell them to take some water. Even if they take a sip, that just goes down quick. After every single set. That's how I trick them drinking water.
Yeah, I'll say I've always done that too. It's always like, yeah, just take sips, sip, Don't need to gulp it down. Okay, so vitamin C, it's been shown to reduce free radical damage, which may be involved in the progression of osteoarthritis. High intake of antioxidant nutrients lowers the rates of osteoarthritis, protects cartilage from loss, and 70% lower risk of developing knee pain. Study of 640 patients with knee osteoarthritis, 3-fold reduced risk of disease progression, and then acts as an antioxidant once again and supports collagen synthesis. And these are the examples of some of the food items that are high in the vitamin C there. Vitamin D. Low levels of vitamin D may impair response of bone to osteoarthritis. So vitamin D, once we know about that, the sun, you need vitamin D to build up your bones. One of the processes of osteoporosis is lack of vitamin D, which also affects osteoarthritis. So vitamin D is also a big one. It reduces cartilage loss and the narrowing of the joint space with the elderly. Study of 556 patients with knee osteoarthritis, 3-fold increase in risk of disease progression. Low vitamin D levels associated with cartilage loss. Avocados and soybean oils, they act as an anti-inflammatory, extremely effective in reducing the needs for the drugs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and they're helping the production of the collagen and slow the cartilage breakdown. Ginger acts as an anti-inflammatory. The extract reduces the painful symptoms of osteoarthritis. Includes fresh ginger. You can include it in stir fries, other dishes, herbal teas. Fish oils, high in the omega-3 fatty acids, acts directly on the immune system, suppresses 40 to 55% of release of the cytokines, which damages cells, lubricates the joints, acts as an anti-inflammatory, and then the type of fish, cold water fish, salmon, sardines, halibut, herring, great fish for those fatty acids. Vegetables and fiber. So I'm not going to really go into reading everyone. Once again, it's a resource for everyone to look at, but the leafy greens and the whole grains. And then the diet and osteoarthritis and what to avoid. So large amounts of red meat, dairy and chicken are not so great. High in saturated fat and high in omega-6 fatty acids. Foods high in sugar, salt, and starch. high intakes of alcohol and coffee, the polyunsaturated fats, sunflower oil, safflower oil, margarine. These substances make our internal environment more acidic, and acid in the joints promotes inflammation. That's why these foods are not so good in that sense for the joint.
Even polyunsaturated fats.
Yeah, because of the high acidic situation in the joints. So summary of the foods, lots of water, vitamin C, and examples there of all the different foods, vitamin C, vitamin D, and then ginger, the oily fish, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Limit your intake of the fatty and sugary foods, and you can get your proteins from the legumes and fish instead of a diet of red meat. All right, so exercise and osteoarthritis. So why exercise if it hurts? And I'm sure you come across that with a lot of patients and clients. You know, they're in pain, they don't like to work out, they don't want to work out because of the pain, so why do it? So the muscles and ligaments that stabilize the joints weaken with lack of activity. So that's one thing I always say to working with clients is, you know, a big part of your makeup of your body and how you function, and to reduce pain in joints, especially if you have the osteoarthritis, is the strong muscles help keep that joint in its healthy position where it's supposed to be. You know, the proper tonus and tightness in the muscles and strength in the muscle keeps the joint where it's supposed to be, and so it doesn't collapse in on itself and cause too much pressure and then weakening and then causing that excess wear on the joint from the muscles not being there to help separate the joint and keep in its proper positioning. So strengthening the muscles around the joint takes the load off the joint. Low impact exercises like swimming, walking, stationary bicycling, and resistance training can all reduce the pain while maintaining strength and flexibility. These measures slow the rate of damage to your joint, improve symptoms, and minimize the use of pain medications. So exercising regularly. Arthritis pain would seem like a valid excuse not to exercise, like we probably hear from people, but the research shows that properly designed programs can decrease pain, increase the flexibility, and overall fitness. And did you know you're feeding your joints when you're active? One thing you can say to the clients, when you're exercising, you're getting the nutrients into the joint, you're getting the oxygen, the blood flow, and the cartilage depends on the joint movement to absorb nutrients and remove the waste. So the more active you are, the more you're exercising, the more you remove the waste and bring the nutrients into the joint to help keep it healthy and keep the cartilage from degrading. And then the activity helps keep the joints healthy. And then here's another way to look at it. Exercise is one part of your treatment program over which you have the control. This is something you can now take control of and be a part of the healing process or to reduce the pain. And like we all know, the trick is getting started and sticking with it. Okay, so exercises for the osteoarthritis. So some different resources here. This is from the Arthritis Foundation. People generally worry that exercising with osteoarthritis could harm your joints and cause more pain. But the research shows that people can and should exercise when they have osteoarthritis. It's considered the most effective and non-drug treatment for reducing the pain and improving the movement in patients. And then what exercise would work best for the osteoarthritis? So next will be a list of the type of exercises that work well for people with osteoarthritis and what works best for them. Usually walking, aquatic. So exercises for osteoarthritis continue. So range of motion and or flexibility exercises. These ones are, so I don't have specific exercises here, just more the categories, because there's tons and tons of exercises. It's more our duty as a trainer to know which ones work best for the people suffering from a specific disease like the osteoarthritis, and then applying that knowledge to create exercises. So range of motion or flexibility exercises. These are good because it takes the joint through its full range of motion, and it can be done without resistance or weights. So there's no extra, especially someone suffering from severe osteoarthritis and pain. At least if you put them through the movement, the range of motion in that joint, you're helping bring mobility back. You're bringing the muscle through some movement. You're getting the nutrients going through there just to help relieve the pain and slowly start to get some strength, where then you can build up to using weights and resistance bands. And then the aerobic endurance exercises, they're great for strengthening the heart and make the lungs more efficient, and reduces the fatigue and builds stamina while helping control weight and by reducing the number of calories. Examples of these are walking, jogging, bicycling, swimming, or elliptical machines. And then the strengthening exercises, that's all the weight bearing, using the resistance of the bands and the dumbbells and so on. These exercises help maintain and improve muscle strength, and strong muscles can support and protect your joints that are affected by arthritis. Like we said before, strong muscles keep the joint in its proper healthy position and spacing. And lots of walking. You know, one thing a lot of our clients are most capable of doing is walking, which has huge benefits just on its own. So easy on the joints because it's not too impactful, and then it comes with a host of benefits. And the 1 meter plus is improves the circulation in the body, getting the blood flowing, getting the nutrients to the joints, flushing out the contaminants, and wards off heart disease, lowers the blood pressure, and strengthens the heart. It also lowers the risk of fracture by stopping or slowing down the loss of bone mass, because usually, you know, osteoarthritis, some people tend to have osteoporosis as well. So the walking helps bring that impact into the body to help keep the bones strong. And then aquatic and water exercises. I mean, these are great, especially for people who have severe osteoarthritis that can't really weight bear at all. And putting them in the water gets them a lot of offloading of pressure on the joint. So rather than they're not really swimming, they're standing in about shoulder height water, and the water's buoyancy helps relieve the pressure of the body's weight on the affected joints, especially in the hips and the knees, while providing resistance to your muscles to get stronger while you do the movements in the water. And regular aquatic exercise can help relieve pain and improve daily function for people with the hip and knee osteoarthritis. Thank you.
Social media next, and then have a little bit of a break before we go into section 8.